Hello, Booktube. Today, I want to talk about YouTube and success. I'm just getting started, so you might ask, well, who are you to talk about this? Well, I went into it with, I don't want to say no expectations. Yeah, probably no expectations, actually. But I want to put in perspective for a lot of people who might be going into it and thinking, wow, I want 1,000 subscribers, or I want hundreds and maybe thousands of views on my videos, which that's great, right? For a population of people who don't read, right? Which is practically nobody, right? In the whole world, there's maybe, if I had to make a guess, maybe like 3-4 million active readers from 8 billion. Okay. If you can get even 100 viewers, like, that's amazing, right? I want to make the point. I want to make the contention that even if you only get 20 views on a video, 10 views on a video, that's phenomenal. And I'm going to make my case by comparing it to teaching. Now, it's often said that comparison is the thief of joy. Yes, but it can also be instiller of joy too. So, for example, if you're having, at least for me, this is what works. If you're having a really bad day, you can just imagine all throughout history or all throughout different parts of the world in which people have it so much worse, right? It's not to say that your pain isn't real or that your suffering isn't real, but it's to kind of clarify and put into perspective of just how hard life in America was, even 100 years ago. Like, when I would listen to my grandparents' stories, living through the Depression, brutal, absolutely brutal. And any student of history who reads about medieval Europe, absolutely brutal, absolutely, just a nightmarish time to be alive. And if we look around the world now, horrendous. Right now, as I'm recording this, I woke up to news that Trump and Israel bombed Iran, and then Iran's retaliating. I mean, that's scary. Obviously, that's scary. Not the least of which, at the helm of the United States, is an absolute psychopath. I mean, at this point, I think all reasonable people, whatever your political persuasion might be, that unless you're in a cult, that unless you are unless you think that Donald Trump is God, you know that this guy's unhinged, completely out of his fucking mind, right? You can be a Republican, and we can, talk about policy issues, but any reasonable person, at the bare minimum, is going to say Donald Trump is an unhinged psychopath. And so I have a friend in the Middle East. I have a couple, but I've lost touch with some. But I have one. And I woke up to him saying, it's getting real over here. And I think about my problems. They pale in comparison. Which again it's a way of framing, right? It's a way of framing an issue. And I want to connect this to success on Booktube, because you might look at channels with 30,000, 50,000 subscribers and people who regularly get, you know, 2 or 3 thousand views, and you might be out here like, man, I can't get hardly any. I want you to compare this to teaching. And I'm going to use me as an example. So I've been an educator in some form or other for most of my adult life. Now, I am not, unlike Steve Donahue, I am not a 28-year-old Giga Chad. I'm actually 125. So I remember World War I, and I remember the Great Depression because I'm 125. And I look dashing for being 125, I think. I've aged quite well. And so for most of my adult life, I've been in the classroom in one form or another, either as a student in graduate school when I was also teaching, or even while in grad school as an adjunct other places, and even now, coming up on almost 10 years after I got my dissertation, still as an adjunct. And for each class, it'll be anywhere from roughly 20 to 30 students, roughly, that start out paying attention to me. And these are people who don't necessarily want to be there, right? Maybe I'm satisfying some kind of a course requirement or whatever. Needless to say, they're not coming because of my dashing good looks. My God. They're coming to fulfill a requirement. And if you've been to college, you've undoubtedly taken courses that just fill the requirement. And then it's my job, or it's any teacher's job, to spark that interest, right? And for me, it's my field, philosophy. It's me to say, hey, look at all of these cool theories, these cool ideas. Isn't that wild? Like, you've never considered these things. And I'm rather fortunate, and a lot of people stick around. They don't drop off. But about half of them do. So let's just go with the max, right? I start out the semester with 30 students actively coming to class. A couple weeks in, 20. Couple more weeks, 15. Couple more weeks, maybe 10. And they just drop off. They're still enrolled. They just don't come to class. But I have those 10 students that are active in my class, that participate, that put in the work, and we learn together. As a side note, my teaching strategy comes from pedagogy of the oppressed. So when I stand up, I just view my position as a teacher as just a formal, just a institutional one. Just my spatio-temporal place in the classroom is arbitrary, in my opinion. I learn a lot from my students, and I treat them like teachers. I'm a teacher, but I'm also a student. And I believe all good teachers know that they're not just teachers, they're students as well. And I've learned a lot from my students. That's a bit of a side note. How does this relate to Booktube? Well, anybody who watches Booktube is doing it voluntarily. Nobody's compelling you to watch Booktube. Nobody's compelling you to watch a particular booktuber. You're choosing that. So even if you get like 10 people and that's all you get. That's amazing. Compare it to teaching at the college level, which is what I do, where if I get like 10, 15 students that are engaged, that listen to me, that care what I have to say, that's a win. And even for my short time so far, less than how long has it been? It's not been long since I started this channel. And already I'm getting, my intro video, thanks to Steve Donahue shouting me out, has like 200 and some views. That's crazy. And my other videos have, 10 plus. All of them all have like 10 plus views. And some people are already interacting with me. That's wild to me. Absolutely wild to me that I'm just starting out. People value what I have to say, and they listen to me. 10 people, 20 people. And so that's my metric. If I can keep a handful of people watching, that's a win. And if you're thinking about starting a Booktube channel and you're like, man, or if you've been in the game for a long time and you're like, man, I've only got a couple hundred people watching each video, or maybe 50. You're doing way better than any college professor. You're doing way better. You're absolutely killing it. So let that kind of be a nice metric for how you measure success, or allow it to be a metric. And for me, I am overjoyed by everybody who watches a video and comments. I get excited, right? Because I think most of us who do Booktube, we do it because we love it. That's why I did it. That's why I started. Just love it. And I've gotten so many good recommendations from Booktube. Now, I've kind of checked out of large parts of it because I see top 10 or book hauls, and I'm not interested in that. I want to just hear people talk about books. Ranking, top 10 series, top 10 this. It's like, okay, if that's your bag, fine. Or book hauls, okay. I just want to talk about books with people. Just like when I'm in the classroom, I just want to talk about philosophy with people. When I'm in the classroom, I don't even view the other people as students, really. They're just people. They're just people. And I just happen to know more about a subject because I've been through the rigors of a formal education, which, if you've never been through a graduate program, I'm going to let you in on a little hint. It doesn't really make you smarter. Not really. The old saying, the real learning happens after, is absolutely true, at least in my case. I learned so much more after I was out of grad school. And I learned way more. And I learn way more from my students than I do from my colleagues. And that might sound like heresy, but there's a certain amount of fart sniffing in academia that is cloistered, and you meet certain oxygenarian types and it's just like, okay, I'm rambling a little bit here, so I'm going to wrap it up. All of that is to say, I'm just going to just summarize. I'm just going to just summarize it up. If you're feeling bad about your view counts, imagine the student ratio in an average college classroom. We're not talking about auditoriums, right? But even then, you're probably doing better than an auditorium that holds like 200 maybe. I mean, many of you probably get that regularly, get like at least 200. But in a regular classroom, it's not an auditorium where there's like 20 to 30 students roughly, you're probably getting that each video. That's better than most classrooms. And to repeat, people are watching you because they want to watch you. And that's awesome, right? That's amazing. I have no illusions when I step into a new class that maybe half of them are like, oh God, okay, let's just get this over with. And then I have to work really hard to get them interested. I don't have to work hard to get you folks interested. You're already book people. You're readers. I just have to show you books that I like and talk about them and analyze them, and you're on board. Right? So I already hooked you. You're already hooked in virtue of being here. All I gotta do is keep the hooks in you, as it were. And I mean, that sounds a little bit manipulative, but I think you know what I'm getting at. All right, so that I don't ramble any longer, I'm gonna cut it off here. Crazy times, and I hope you're all doing well. It's rough, and I fear it's going to be rough a lot longer. We got to have each other's backs. We got to have each other's backs. That's all I can say. So thank you for being here. I don't take any of you for granted. I appreciate the time that you take out of your day to listen to me. All right. And with that, I'm going to end it. Peace, and I'll see you in the next one.